Thank you everyone for coming so much, and Rochelle for the opportunity, and Ray and your wife, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You are on Wadawurrung country, and I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land. So this is the farm that my husband Luke and we run about 80 head of Wiltshire Pole sheep. I do a lamb box business, pasture to plate sort of model. It's very small, but it's my way of generating some income from the sheep. And the overall goal for our farm was to leave the soil and the land in better shape than what we took it on as. And the sheep are the tool in which we're doing that. I wasn't quite ready for how much I love the sheep though. They are Wiltshire poles. I buy in a stud ram every 2 years, and the last one I got, I made sure he was pasture raised as well. He did come from a different part of Victoria, but I think he'll adapt well, and I'm trying to work on the epigenetics, and so I'm holding over the breeding ewes, and I'm up to the second generation that was born on farm now. Will be maiden mothers this year.
Can you just really explain that epigenetics? I don't think I've really got that.
When I did my research, I went, well, look at my climate, look at my rainfall, look at my pasture. How much time do I have to give to this? What sort of infrastructure do I have? At the time, we had really ratty old fences, no water except for a dam that dried up every summer, very little tree cover, that type of thing. So I was looking for a breed of animal that would adapt to the climate well. We get very cold winters, quite hot summers, like we're about to go into a heat wave this weekend. And so the Wiltshire sheep, they're an old English breed. They shed their wool, so I didn't need a shearing shed. They keep their teeth. They don't lose their teeth like a lot of other sheep do if you look after them. So they're long living.
How big's your farm?
70 acres.
70, I didn't hear that.
Yep. So we farm about 50 acres of it.
Okay, good.
The rest is grassy woodland, and it's fenced off for riparian health.
You said you isolate about 20 of the acres for riparian?
Yep.
Do you ever graze it occasionally?
No.
Reason?
By agreement with the Catchment Management Authority, we're not allowed to graze.
What do you think of that?
I don't think it's the best way to manage the land.
What I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen, Karen, and I think you already know this, that little piece is going to start degrading.
It already is. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I think you're the same scientists are at our country. I would prefer just walk a little bit down to the fringes of your grass and go see the area that's protected.
There is another area that hasn't been grazed. That is over here where I've planted a lot of trees, but there's grass underneath, but it's been fenced off from stock the whole time.
I can see a lot by just walking, and we can kind of look, but I want to see what happens when we don't graze properly, or graze properly, or what happens when we take the animals completely off.
Well, we can get that over there.
Well, let's do it.
Yep. So the idea was, head down. We can go right to the area where it was never grazed over there, which is, 150 metres. And then we can go left, which will take you to a paddock that I've grazed harder than before. So this would be great to hear what people see when they're here.
How many kangaroos are you supporting?
Oh, probably about the same number as sheep. Yeah, there's a lot.
You got a plan for that?
We don't really want to cull, but it makes the rotational grazing very difficult. I actually love this area, like walking through. What do we got here? A lot of clay.
Like powder.
Yep. So when you look at that, there's no aggregates there, are there?
You're being a bit tough on yourself right away, because we just
Plowed through it.
all we
So
were
it's
doing
not
is
the
getting
same.
like a core sample to see what it looks like, and if we've got much colour in that, we should get this. Who had the shovel?
I've got it.
Well, you're going
Campbell.
to dig one up like
Yesterday.
Ray did yesterday?
Yeah.
Had some rain. That's not digging too bad.
Nearly 2 months.
Had to get the crowbar out yet.
Yeah.
The beginning of December.
Nearly shovelful deep, isn't it?
But it was like 110 mils at the beginning of December. So our boundary is on this side of the dam. Yeah. Just the tree species, so she oaks.
What is that?
That one's, it's a black wattle, yeah.
How they is self-seeding so well?
Yeah, they're weedy. They're quite weedy.
That's the core there, top to bottom.
Well, oh, look at that. Very light, got all the spheres present. Look how light that is, Karen. Oh, you don't touch it?
Oh yeah, sure.
Look at it. Look at that.
It's degraded soil, isn't it?
Look how light your soil is. If I went to a conventional field and got the same size, it would weigh twice as much. It's huge. So look at this. You've got all the aggregation. Look at that.
Lovely.
You know what you're missing now? Water.
Yes. We had about 110 mil in the second week of December. And
Oh.
that's it. Yeah.
That dug up fairly easy too. I was watching the man pushing the
That's the
shovel.
grazing, actually.
It looks good. Very good. That looks really nice. But there's no grazing here, right?
No.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, the kangaroos and the rabbits.
So you got that.
That's your core there, Ray. But there's not a lot of colour difference there.
No. You know, here's the thing that kind of bothers me is our wildlife groups. That cattle are a way to keep our grasslands healthy. We need occasional grazing, but here's where we fail. I don't feel our government land's called, again, it's called Conservation Reserve Program, where you isolate spots, and I'm with that. All we're saying is you need to go to a 3-day school to graze before we let you graze the land. Because we don't want you grazing into the dirt. That's all we're asking.
Yeah.
And if there's an emergency thing, but we need to keep those rangelands healthy. And there's no way to do it without herbivores. There's no other way.
Because a lot of that western country was ponderosa with grass, wasn't it? Like an open woodland.
Absolutely. Yeah. And all we're saying is we can come in there, get a good herd impact, and it lasts for 2 or 3 years. You can get a great effect.
Most of these
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking of actually bringing cows back into my place. I really think if you're going to get your country to really change, I think the idea of bringing the range simulators in, but I would really seriously think about bringing Alejandro and I together as a double team to really. Well, here's what I'm thinking, guys. Look, this is what it's not just for the producer's sake, but for the government policy's sake. They need to be able to see how we can restore these grasslands, and nobody does it better than Alejandro. And I can bring the soil and the water cycles and the cycles together. We work very good as a team. We really need to think about it. You really want to do this right, and you got one opportunity with the decision makers, because if we don't do this correctly, and you got one time with them, we're just going to spin around, and we don't have that time. That's just my honest opinion. We got to get those range simulators over here, and get the right people. Even if we have to do a special presentations for special groups, that's okay.
Excuse me, Ray, what's the range simulator cost?
They're $6,000. So it'll be about 10,000 Aussie.
Done.
We just got to get one over here.
Yeah.
Well, I think Vic No Tiller got one.
Right.
Huh?
Ray.
Sorted.
Good. And then I want to do the training, and in all the group that we had, I want to do a special training how to collect it and how to run it.
Yep.
So we need to spend that also time.
Yep.
And that's what I think. So we don't want to take your time, please go. But I think this is so important. The reason I'm bringing this up, it kind of bothers me that you can't graze that piece of grass out there. And bring at least the neighbor's cows just to kind of massage it. Because I think you're gonna struggle keeping the grasses vibrant. They're designed, they're not cycling.
They're around. I haven't seen one on this property. Yeah.
Kathy brings up a good point. I think we can bring some of these soil indicators, Haney, the ones that Phil was talking about, and show the compare contrast of that. I think that's a great thing to show. And we're going to see, I've done it on CRP land. They're not cycling. They're desertifying. And so I think we need to bring that discussion to the group, but please remember, unless we deprogram them with the range simulator first and talk about the cycles, we can't have a discussion for Alejandro. They still won't get it. I think that's the way to do it.
Any ecosystem is only as productive as how fast it can cycle nutrients.
Yep.
And when it's dry like this, the only place that's happening is in the cow's tummy.
Yeah.
That's how important they are. Over at Julia Creek, they locked up Mitchell grass, and in about 8 or 10 years it was dead. Where it's getting grazed, it was 50-year-old plants.
And-
No, but they're still putting that policy in place everywhere. Unfortunately, we
Because they're
somehow
not out. They're not out in the paddocks themselves.
I have a question for you, Karen. How tight do you group your sheep?
Not enough.
I see. That's what Sonny and I want to do. I want to see. There was one man that was at the conference. His name was Matt. Did everybody meet Matthew? Tall guy. He's about Gary's size. He's a big boy.
Yep.
He had 3,800 sheep running like a mob of buffalo, and he's doing some incredible things. So unless we group these sheep tighter, but I still think the cows do something that the sheep don't do. That's just my opinion. That's why I want to bring cows into my system. I don't want to just do one sort of animals.
There's a weight issue with
Weight and
Yeah, they graze.
the way they graze.
It's about 70 to 80 sheep per hectare.
Yeah.
And that depends on how much feed and when I decide to move them on again. But the paddocks that we'll look at, I can give you the day rates that they
So
were
that's
on.
your density right now, right?
No, I've just split the flock because the rams has gone in with the breeding ewes.
Have you ever run about 70,000 pounds to the acre?
I don't know what that would be.
That would be tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want density. And I'm trying to group them tight. Sonny and I, when we get home, we're going to start doing that.
Yeah.
Because we're missing density.
It's the labour factor.
Yes.
And so I work full time off farm and I'm doing the farming as well.
Oh, wow.
So
Well,
it's
that
about
makes a
what can be managed, you know?
I do have an idea for you.
Yeah.
They're called bat latches. They have they have a battery. They've got a timer. They will release a bungee cord, and it has a little buzzard. The animals hear it, and they move to the next paddock on their own.
Graham Hand,
Yeah.
something like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I'm seriously thinking about it too.
Just
But we've been in a drought.
a number that, like, I did a course last year and Judy Earle was there, and so she gave us a couple of numbers. And what happens is when you get to this number is when you start getting on the ecological curve,
Yeah.
right? And that's the start of where you're starting to make progress. And that is 200 DSEs per hectare. So 200 dry sheep equivalent.
Yeah.
That's about 40 cows. And the other number was 12 paddocks per mob. So that's like 12 paddocks per mob is a minimum. That's you got to start there.
How many kilos is that per?
Not many.
Are we still getting like the 70,000 pounds
No,
impact?
God, no, nothing like it.
Anyway, I would have to, but
20,000 kilos.
20,000 kilos.
The point is there though, is that she's done the science and she's recorded it. That's when you start,
Okay.
right? Getting on the ecological curve.
Anything less than that, you're wasting your time.
That's about it.
And she's at Bingra, which is northern New South Wales, which is what, 26-inch rainfall or something. It's reasonable, pretty good country.
We now have the science from Shell to back it up. We got science, replicated research to back up adaptive grazing. It's going to come up. That's why you guys are going to see the documentary called Roots So Deep. And I think we're ready to share that because the first thing they're going to push back on us, where's your science? I said, here it is. Here's the concept. And it's hard to argue against Alejandro because he's in a drier climate, just as a dry here.
So they were last in here on the 8th of October. For 2 weeks.
With how many sheep?
Would have been the whole flock with, so lactating ewes with lambs. So, about 80. Yep.
And how big's this paddock?
A bit bigger than 1 hectare.
You rested for?
Depends on the recovery. Yeah. I've got, I don't know, probably 8 weeks of grazing before they come over this way again.
Okay.
So
When do you get your raise?
hopefully around the end of March. Anzac Day is when the farmers all seed in preparation for winter crops. Is the usual cut-off time. So this is the heavily grazed one. This is the water system that I've got here. It's all piped underground. It's gravity fed from the tank up there. We collect water from the house and the shed and then pump underground up to the tank, and then it's the lock and key technique.
What's that?
So it's a device. So I move the troughs with the sheep. It's gravity fed. You know, the further down I am, the better the feed.
You've got a good grazing with the Solara.
Yeah, Polaris is great. Yes, because it gives my lambs shelter in winter from the wind.
The wind shelter, yeah.
Wind is brutal here. Yeah. It'll kill them. So.
Okay, everybody kind of walk a little, give yourself a little circle. Give me your assessment of this whole thing. All processes working on this particular paddock.
No, it's a bit compacted.
It's a little bit compaction, right? But what else? What comes to your mind?
Like you can't push.
This kind of looks like one of my paddocks at home.
Well, I'm impressed that she's got this grazing from Polaris with sheep. Because we've got a lease block with Polaris and I haven't fallen in love with it yet because our cattle hate it. They write letters to the RSPCA.
So everybody hates. Everything hates this grass.
They don't. They like it when it's growing, not when it goes to head. So I think she's done a great job.
So you can drive it with cattle when it goes to head, but you have to have them tight to do it.
Oh, we do. That's what we have to do. It's got to be
So,
like this.
Ingrid.
Yeah.
So what if you had them tighter? You had 100 sheep in 1 acre. Really?
Oh, they'll wolf it down.
Okay,
So,
so
when it goes dry and goes to head, but I think it becomes like.
But
it's like hard.
so we could have more uniform grazing now.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But is that really right thing to do? Like that, you're forcing your stock to eat something they don't want to eat. That's my trouble with cell grazing. Like, let them choose what they want to eat. Control them so they don't overeat.
Yeah, but it's like giving a kid a table
lollies
with
and
lollies
veggies.
and veggies, and they'll go for the lollies every single time.
Yeah, and I agree with her because I'll tell you why. If I make my kids eat vegetables, I'm sorry, they're good for you. All of us want to go to the dessert and the steak place. That's why they change their grazing habits when you mob them.
Yep.
You know the military? They put 100 men together, men and girls, and you say you got 30 minutes. They serve liver. I hate liver. I'm starving to death. I've been working my butt off. I'm gonna eat liver, throw some dang ketchup in, and I'm gonna eat it.
That's why he likes ketchup.
When you group people tight together, or you got a short time, animals change their behavior. That's what the mob does.
Well, you see with ours, they'll come in, they'll do the strip, they'll walk the way through, look for the lollies. When they've eaten the lollies, they'll come back and they'll start eating the secondary and third species. They'll just keep going up and down until you move.
The competition gets stiff, doesn't it? Yeah. So I think we got to think about that, and you don't have to do it all the time. Yeah. I walked away thinking, I got a mama memory second. No, you don't. You do it one time. If you could do one event in 2 or 3 years, you've done something golden.
No one's ever said that before. Like, I listen to cell grazing. It's cell grazing.
Yeah.
It's no, when you want to, or once or twice a year. It's
yeah, we're chilled out and we're learning more.
Yeah, we have three ways of dealing with it.
Yeah.
And I've put sheep into I've only got very, very, very thin lucerne, and the sheep were hungry. I put them in the paddock and they flew around eating the lucerne. I was thinking, that's not going to last long. And they left it and they started eating the other stuff. That's right. Yeah. So they're chasing the minerals that they want and they need.
I'm sorry, if you offer them, say take lucerne, you've got to get past the 3rd or 4th leaf stage before you're not living off the root. Coming back to lucerne on that.
But not if they're only there for 24 hours and they're out.
Well, then what you do is you put in something like field radish that's slightly bitter. When they're down to eating the thing that's bitter, it's time to move them.
This one's heavier. This one's heavier. Yeah, this one's heavier. This one's got less pore space.
Bulk density is higher.
Yeah, bulk density is higher on this one.
But there's good aggregates
Yes,
down
there
there.
is. But it's good, but it still weighs more. So the grazing has impacted. If I got the same weight and weighed them, it has to. My animals the same way. But remember I told you there's many methods? But I want to go back. After I saw Matthew's videos, I can group them a little tighter. That's what we're going to do. But if labor's an issue, it is an issue. It's gold of what you can do. Like one of my packs. It's better than some of the other packs I've seen. Look, there's no bare ground. Rarely, you have a lot of skin, which is excellent. So, you know, is what it is.
Everyone's bagging this, but it serves a purpose here because we have a lot of high wind, and particularly through winter, the Phalaris protects my lambs. And also we get a lot of mist and fog here, and it creates this layer where it's quite protected in there.
What would everyone think about doing a little trial and putting in some mixed species, like just with this paddock, and then grazing them properly, just on that little bit?
I'm happy to broadcast. Yeah.
And if you don't, you put it in before the sheep and they tramp it in. Yeah.
The soil looks good.
Good.
It's not. It doesn't look bad.
No,
We're just trying to help. How do you maximize?
You'd only got rain in December.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't want to buy equipment and invest. Yeah. Well, I hadn't thought of the broadcasting, and I do have one of those box things that you just walk along and... They were in here just last week, or 2 weeks ago.
Is that what they got from that to there?
Yep.
Hey guys.
What were the negatives?
Hey guys, let's make this very quick. Look, and like Jake and I were saying, look, there's a lot of good positive things about this. Think about Karen's situation where she has to work. I get it, Karen. I'm never home, and I'm frustrated. And I just don't think I'm doing a good enough job. But I'm honest to myself. I'm the most brutal critic to me. But when you come to my place, I'm honest. I say, guys, I want you to show you where I screw up. We have groups that we meet together. I'm not ashamed to tell you my failures. I want to do better. But look at the soil, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You got great aggregation. Yeah. Yeah, you're very good.
Should have been recording that.
I
Thank you.
Guess what? Very little bare ground. You notice we still have skin.
Yeah.
We still have skin, so you must have left enough material to create a skin. I've seen places, it's dirt. You have enough skin. You're going to protect it, going to rain, it's going to take off. What you're able to do, considering the limitations that you have.
This is the hardest it's been grazed, so I thought I'd left it a day too long.
You know, and usually I've done that myself. When you know intuitively you left them too long, you did. I've done it myself.
Okay. So some people talk about, you know, leaving a third of the plant matter and that type of thing, and to me I was like, oh gosh, like I haven't been working to that, you know, but this to me will spring back when we get our rain.
It's a journey.
I think, yeah.
But I think we need rain too. This is the way my place looked like.
I think that's the point. Like, you get rain on, it's going to hold the moisture, and the little seedlings have got places to hide, but grow protected.
Although we'll probably get our first frost by the end of March. So the frost is hard.
So you won't grow much through the winter.
It does slow down. Yeah, July, August, pretty slow time, and then things start to speed up in spring.
Hey guys, one more great compliment from Phil. And if you get a compliment from Phil, Karen, you're rock.
Get your phone out. Get your phone out. Quick, record
Listen to this one. Phil, let it go.
What people don't realise is we're in February on basalt. And basalt is a heavy clay soil that comes off it, that cracks. Find a crack. You'll find it everywhere else in the district, but you're going to struggle to find it here. So that is the success of the system, is there's no cracks. So you can say what you like about it. Karen has done, for this soil and her time, a brilliant job.
Thank you very much.
Other things to be considered with the grazing and how long you were grazing here. And it got to do with how much rain we've got and how much green feed we've got and how much dry feed we've got. Like, if you had gone out of here earlier, what would you have left behind?
Dead grass.
Only dry grass, and that would have put you in that paddock earlier, and that paddock earlier, and that paddock, and you were around here before. You didn't ever get your time here. There was nothing wrong with eating the dry grass that's in this paddock here now.
Cool.
That holistic management says that when it's in this state, you can stay longer. It's when it's growing that you can overgraze it. Yeah.
That's what I've been taking that approach.
Some of the guys call it adaptive grazing. Right? Adaptive is a good word because it's not reliant on your calendar. right? It's you adapt to the situation, you adapt to growth phase of the grass, to how much grass is here, how many sheep here, what you're trying to do with your sheep. Now, if all of a sudden you were needing fat lambs real quick, and you were looking for weight gain, maybe you should have been up there eating some fresher grass earlier. But when you only got old ewes, you don't want them getting fat when they're in with the ram if they're in good condition.
Do you want to see how fat they are?
Oh, well,
Do we want to see one more paddock further over? It's the problem paddock. And it's where the girls are. We leased it out to an electrical company that stored heavy equipment there for a year. And they cut it up with big trucks through a muddy winter. So I had it monash, rock dust and lime put over it, including these paddocks as well actually. And then we had it ploughed and sowed a multi-species cover crop, the Winter Max from AGF. Then the seed bank pasture returned. And now the thistles are taking over and the spiny rush is really spreading so quickly. Oh, definitely compaction, yeah.
You know what these tell you?
Which, the spiny rush, anaerobic soil. So when it rains a lot, this goes underwater, parts of it as well.
And that's what the reeds are from.
Yes.
It's not the trucks. Well, trucks might contribute, but the water.
Yep. Come on, girls.
So what have you got, about 60?
No, these are the breeding mobs, so 27 in here now.
But you've got 2 lots, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, like 75. I've got the wethers and the year lambs out. The rams in here as well, so 28.
They're beautiful. They look really good.
Yeah. They're my cover girls. Yeah. No, they're not.
Come on,
She's not pregnant.
Oh, really?
The ram has only just come in. They're seasonal breeders.
Are these hair sheep?
Woolly, soft wool.
What does that mean?
Soft wool. So they're shedding sheep though, so they lose but they're a soft hair.
How is that different from a hair sheep? They do the same.
So a dorper is a hard hair.
Okay.
So they're from South Africa. And so, yeah, whereas...
Dopers. Might have very little doper on mine.
Yeah, so wilties are English.
We have Katahdin, St. Croix mix with whites. Ours are hair sheep.
But are they soft hair or hard hair?
Yeah, Sonia, I think they're soft hair.
Yeah, so like it's on the fences here, we can feel it and it'll...
Ours are a little coarser.
Yeah. I got good stock in the beginning because we sell for breeding. Who wanted to see the water system that's over here? So here's the lock. There.
So where'd you get these clever little tricks?
Darren Doherty talked about it about 7 years ago at a workshop I went to.
And that's what you stick in there?
Yep. So the troughs move with the sheep and I waste minimal water. I'm not watering the kangaroos. So
where does that thing come from?
This is just from Midland Irrigation. I think all irrigation shops will have it. They do farm irrigation and that type of thing. It costs about $3.60, I think.
I have the same quantity.
Yeah.
I like your little tank. Do you drag them?
I do. Yep. So the day before I move the sheep, I'll pull it out so it stops filling. Ideally, then I waste very little water.
Are you open to a suggestion?
Yeah, always.
It's a brilliant idea. He thinks you should run Neil's little machine over here. You see how you have the dips with heavy equipment?
Yeah.
I think that little machine that you run here, rent it, and I think you can renovate.
Excellent.
But bring him in when he's in the district. So just find out when he's doing contracting with this. You know this already. So Juncus is a water-loving plant for at least 3 months of the year. So the reason why that's so brilliant is typically basalt does one of two things. It gets waterlogged or cracks. In this instance, you've taken a profit gain, and my suggestion would be put a little bit of money into a perturbation to bring it back. So either Soilkee, or there's a thing called a rotocol that's even brutal. but that it needs a perturbation to bring it back quickly.
And then you can put a summer mix into it, like a millet or those that are very fibrous, and start some of the repair process.
Now we're heading for our winter.
Yeah, well, whatever you can. Oh, winter.
Oats,
put oats.
plantain.
You'd run it behind a Soilkee. You'd
Yeah.
run a Soilkee to put it.
Get the soaking in there, and put your mix in. Look, if your little field, this field's for you, it's expensive. It's worth. This land's expensive. So I think it may be worth a little. If you had to put a little bit of money into it, not too much. But you're right, Martin. You can do the cheapest way. But I like the way that machine. Do a little mineralization, and let it release. Fix your mix. Give you a coal seed. Martin will sell you some seed. You're good.
Apparently it's coming up in April.
He's coming up in April anyway.
Karen, I'd
So you
ask
don't
him,
play
and I think you'd probably
mobilisation.
find he'd just come and do it.
Yeah.
Just ask him. Ray said I should do this, and I think
Yeah,
you'd find
and tell
out
him
the
if,
magic.
if you want me to sell some of your machines in the country, you need to come and help.
And Ray said, while you're here, you've got to leave a control strip and take before and after photos and Haney tests.
Yes. Man, did you see all that love we got in a second?
That was very important. What he said was very important.
Yeah.
And with that, you've got a choice, right?
That's
You can do one strip up the paddock and leave the rest, but do something.
Got to compare. Yep. Yep. Have the control.
We've grown on so many farms. It just feels happy.
Good.
Feels good.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, you've done a great job.
This is serrated tussock. It's a terrible weed from South America. It's all over the district. It's a Wands weed. Patterson's curse. So that's another one. They say it doesn't even exist around this area, but I'm proof it does. So that's got high oxalates in it, not good for sheep to graze. It's also got really strong allelopathy. Leaves these dead zones when it gets dry. Like these are quite big plants when it's young and growing. And
Fine with the conifers that
terrible.
it's bare.
Yeah.
So you obviously didn't plant them.
No, they were here, but shade is a real issue for here. Like this is too hot for the sheep to not have shade. And so that limits what I can graze during, say, the heat waves. That's why I've got this paddock set up for the sheep to go in tonight, because we've got 3 days of over 35 degrees. They need everything that they can get to stay cool. Yeah, so shade being the issue, I guess my next project is I'm going to put in fencing. So this paddock is a 3 hectare paddock, and I've got it split into 3 where you can see the star pickets, and that's where I run the hot wire every time. But on the second one, I'm going to put in a permanent fence and a fenced off shelter belt, so 5 metres wide, and plant it with some European trees, a lot of natives, and then longer term that will be shade for the 2 paddocks that are left. But
Some European deciduous.
yes. But also poplar. I like poplar here because we've already got some growing that someone else planted, but they're meant to be a good fodder tree as well. And the alpacas trim them up higher than the sheep, and so, but it all grows back the next season. So yeah, but it's kind of, because it's visible from the bedrooms and that, we want it to be beautiful as well as functional. And it will have a gate in it as well, so I can crash graze it and then kick the sheep out.
So do you have this paddock specifically for heat waves then? You will
Oh,
move them out
it's-
or is it in the actual rotation?
It's part of the rotation, but I timed it knowing that, because I'm going camping this weekend as well, so my backup water supply is still water in the dam, should anything go wrong with the trough, because I need my systems to be resilient, because I can't have someone coming out and check during that time. That's one thing I've found with the wilties is everyone in the district has had massive feet problems because of the wet in December and the year before. But the wilties are really resilient so far. But a friend who's got Dorpers, she's about 20 k's from here, and she's got better pasture than I do. But her sheep are obese as well. Like more obese than mine. But she's got bad feet problems. Yeah. It's just persistent for people. But that's the difference between Dorpers and Wilties, I think, as well. Tom, I didn't get to answer your question about epigenetics. So it's about, the grasses on your land and the I guess all the the microbes and everything that are here as well. But as the sheep breed on this country, if I continue to select for the best performers, then they should start to express genes that are optimal to this environment. If they're all pasture raised.
And they say once the land gets good.
Yep.
And then and the sheep obviously got good gut biology and everything. They actually express their genetics to more than what you'd expect. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So I get really excited when it's my next round of lambing and it's my, the ones that have been bred on farm. Like I can't wait to see what comes out.
And conversely, with wheat, now they select wheat varieties under fertilised conditions. And the wheat plants now are starting to get more and more where they don't need the mycorrhizal fungi.
Okay, yes, of course, they're selecting for a different
same principle
strength.
applies. Keep your own seed.
Yep.
And just keep modifying it that way.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't actually come across it before. Matthew Evans, he has a soil book and he talks about the microbes on the outside of the seed. I think it was, and inside the seed. And I always assumed it was kind of sterile inside a seed.
No, apparently they carry all the biology they need if they come from a
You shouldn't have to inoculate a legume.
So
Christine talks about that. Christine Jones
excellent.
Now.
Yep. Good. And so I guess if you're collecting your own seed and then growing it on the land again.
They got all excited about these epiphytes in the plant. So I talked to Walter and he said they actually, mycorrhizal fungi infects the plant, like the endomycorrhizal. They talk to the endophytes like Cyro done all this stuff. And then they talk about plants can actually take in bacteria, dissect them, get what they want out of them, spit the DNA back out, and they reckon when they put the DNA back out, it can be, organise itself again, or whatever they do, it's probably split another cell off, with a message to do whatever the plant wants. Without the mycorrhizal fungi, the system won't work. Yeah. They're the main event. They actually make decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Any suggestions? Any?
Well, if you can, to really get a result, you need
the density.
Some stage, like you said, once a year, twice a year, bunch them up and impact the land. Yeah.
I hadn't actually thought of doing it, say on a long weekend or something when I might have time. Yeah, that's actually a good opportunity.